Viktor Yanukovych.
As he starts focusing on those affairs of state, I mean, the big question is what he can actually get done in a country that has just been torn apart by tension recently.
Yes, and there's a huge difficulty facing him in terms of the eastern regions. The violence continues. The latest report is from Donetsk Airport, where armed men have stormed the terminal building, and the flights are now suspended. As of yesterday, there was probably only 1 in 5 polls in Donetsk, Luhansk, and other eastern cities that managed to stay open. Quite a few voters were intimidated, stayed away from the ones that were open. So it was a very difficult election. The West is already praising it, but how Russia responds is going to be very important. Last week, Vladimir Putin said he would respect these results, but Ukrainians say Moscow can only be judged by its actions, not its rhetoric. So what he can get done and how quickly is a very big question.
Well, Peter, if you're talking about polls being closed because of violence, does that affect the legitimacy of this election victory at all?
Well, that remains to be seen, and Russia's reaction, I think, will be paramount. Last week, the Russian president said he would respect these results, but that's also what Moscow said about the referendum for independence that Eastern voters had that was pretty clearly unconstitutional. So it all depends on what Moscow does next. Does it continue to pull the troops back? Does it stop threatening to move in to protect Russian citizens? The West, I'd say, is pretty clearly on board with this. President Obama has spoken warmly of progress being made here. So I think the real question is Russia.
All right, so the question, Russia going forward, the West has so far given its endorsement for this election. Peter, I mean, if this man comes in and takes over as president and gets started, any sense for his agenda? The top priority being, of course, trying to calm down the violence in the East.
Poroshenko says his first trip will be to the East.